250 years ago, a small group of colonial delegates gathered in Philadelphia. They were not kings. They commanded no great empire. Yet, within 8 extraordinary days, they would make a decision that would change history. A decision that gave birth to a new nation. A nation founded on the belief that liberty was not granted by government, but given by God. Today, as America celebrates her 250th birthday, we look back at the 8 days that created the United States and the remarkable story those 8 days made possible. The story did not begin in July of 1776. For years, Americans petitioned, protested, debated, and appealed to the British government. Merchants organized boycotts, printers, pastors, and political leaders debated liberty in newspapers, churches, and town meetings. Most colonists were not seeking independence. They hoped for reconciliation. But each year brought new tensions, new taxes, new restrictions, new confrontations. Then came Lexington and Concord. The debate that had filled pamphlets and meeting halls suddenly carried a cost measured in blood. Americans now faced a question that would define their future. Could a free people govern themselves, or would they surrender that responsibility to others? In 1775, the Continental Congress issued a declaration explaining why the colonies had taken up arms. The delegates insisted that they had exhausted every peaceful option. They had petitioned, they had reasoned, they had appealed to the king. Yet, the conflict continued, and so they reached a different conclusion. We have counted the cost of this contest and find nothing so dreadful as voluntary slavery. These were not men eager for war. They were men convinced that liberty was worth preserving. Still, independence had not yet been declared. That moment was now only days away. On June 28, 1776, Congress received the final draft of a document written primarily by Thomas Jefferson. For several days, the delegates debated and revised its language. On July 2nd, Congress voted for independence. 2 days later, on July 4th, they approved the final text of the Declaration of Independence. That decision was extraordinary. These delegates were not signing a petition. They were committing treason against the most powerful empire on earth. Had they failed, many likely would have lost everything. Yet they signed because they believed that liberty, self-government, and human dignity were worth the risk. America had been born. No one in that room would have imagined all that would follow. Within a generation, the United States had survived its uncertain beginning and adopted a constitution that still governs today. A young republic endured. In the century that followed, Americans crossed mountains, settled frontiers, built railroads, raised towns, founded churches, opened schools, and transformed a string of former colonies into a continental nation. The country faced its greatest internal test in the Civil War. A nation nearly tore apart was preserved. The Union endured. Slavery was abolished. And the promise of liberty began reaching more fully towards those who had long been denied it. Millions arrived from across the world, seeking freedom, work, worship, land, safety, and opportunity. They came through crowded harbors and quiet borders. They built homes. They built businesses. They became Americans. In the 20th century, the United States helped to confront tyranny on battlefields across the globe. American soldiers landed on distant shores. American factories produced the tools of victory. American families sacrificed at home. And when the world emerged from war, the cause of freedom still stood. Then, in 1969, less than 2 centuries after independence was declared, American astronauts stood on the surface of the moon. From Philadelphia to the frontier, from Gettysburg to Normandy, from Ellis Island to Apollo 11, the American story has never been the story of perfection. It has been the story of perseverance. A people tested by hardship, division, sacrifice, and uncertainty, and still called back to the founding promise that liberty matters, that self-government matters, and that a free people, under God, can build something worth passing on. 250 years ago, a handful of delegates pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. They could not see all that lay ahead, but they believed they were building something worth preserving, and they were right. Today, we celebrate more than a document, more than a vote, more than 8 days in Philadelphia. We celebrate 250 years of independence, 250 years of courage, 250 years of opportunity, 250 years of liberty passed from one generation to the next. The story of America did not end in 1776. It was handed forward, and now it is ours to cherish, defend, and pass on. Happy 250th birthday, America. Like, follow, and subscribe to the National Character Association on YouTube, and watch our many historical videos about the causes of the American Revolution, the principles, the values behind the freedoms that we enjoy today.